Hey, what's up guys? Here's my video on the Stranger Things Iceberg chart that I made. If you guys want to add anything to this, please just credit me, that's all I ask, and enjoy the video guys. So I wanted to start off with something that people who haven't even watched the show would know about, but I promise there's a lot of obscure and unknown information in this one, so make sure you stick around to the end of the video. Alright guys, at number 1 in the level 1 obscurity, we've got Finn Wolfhard memes. This meme first popped up in late 2019 after the original photo was shared mid-2018, and there's not much to say about it. It's just pretty funny to see how fast this one spread and all the memes it created. Alright, similar to the Finn Wolfhard memes, we've got the Alexi memes. These ones are a little less popular, but still funny nonetheless. The memes were created around his unquenchable need for Slurpees and his unfortunate death in the series. Alright guys, number 3 in the level 1 category is the Lost Sister episode. Either you remember this episode very well or probably not at all, for good reason. It was heavily disliked by viewers, including myself, and many people don't acknowledge it as part of the real timeline for how terrible it was. Alright guys, number 4 in the level 1 category, we've got the title sequence. Something that really pops out about the show is its style, and the title sequence is definitely part of that style. Created by design studio Imaginary Forces, the title is something very unique and memorable to the viewers. It was created to represent the time period of the 1980s by resembling title sequences from movies like Alien, Superman, and The Goonies. Alright guys, the first entry in the level 2 category, we've got Steve was supposed to be the bully. Originally, Steve was meant to be much more of a dick in the series like how he was in the beginning of the show, and in an interview with GQ, Joe Keery, who plays Steve in the series, shares that he was originally supposed to rape Nancy. So obviously he was supposed to be a little bit more than a bully, but I already put that in the chart. But anyway, I'm glad that was taken out. They decided his character would rather have some bad qualities, but at the end of the day do everything he can to help. I'm glad they made this change because in season 3 he became one of my favorite characters. Alright guys, the second entry on level 2, we've got the Hawkins van stunt. In one of the most memorable breaking points in the show, we see Eleven execute her powers on a van quickly approaching them. This scene was actually done practically, without any CGI, by using explosives to launch the van very high into the air. Alright guys, the third entry in the level 2 category, we've got the Nether. A lot of viewers don't actually know this, but the Upside Down is actually called the Nether. But ever since it was referred to as the Upside Down, the name stuck, and that's what they've gone with. Number 4 in the second category, we've got the show was rejected 15 times. We could have missed out on the amazing show we know and love if it wasn't for the Duffer Brothers' determination. Initially, they were turned down by 15 to 20 studios in Hollywood, with the common complaint being it was just too crazy to market it towards who they were. They were suggested to make it into a children's style show or focus on Detective Hopper. Thank God they didn't. Taking the 5th spot in level 2, we've got Indiana Jones. In the series, you can see Hopper wearing a hat resembling somebody you may know. If you don't know who I'm talking about, you're probably too young, but wait, never mind. I take that back. There's no excuse for not knowing who Indiana Jones is. Go watch movies. Anyway, in season 2, Hopper risks his life to get his hat back, a lot like Indy when he was running away from the rolling boulder. This is just one of the many nods towards Indiana Jones in the show. Alright guys, entry 1 in level 3, we've got Millie Bobby Brown almost quit. Another instance of the show possibly being dramatically different or non-existent as we know it today could have been when Millie Bobby Brown quit. She didn't, of course, but before being cast into Stranger Things, she was dealing with a lot of the problems that other child actors face, which almost made her call it quits. Thank God she didn't. Alright guys, so the second thing we've got in level 3 was that Stranger Things was almost an anthology series. Originally, the Duffer Brothers wanted to model the series in a similar way that the It movies did, jumping from time periods with new characters and settings in every season or even every episode. Alright guys, so the third thing we got in level 3 is E.T. E.T. had a major impact on one of our leading characters, Eleven, and the whole show for that matter. But focusing on Eleven in particular, we can see a lot of nods to E.T. and Spielberg. For example, when they give Eleven clothes to go to their school. They remind you of something? Okay. Also, we can confirm this when Drew Barrymore told Millie Bobby Brown in their conversation. It's full circle for me because it harks back to me playing Gertie in E.T. Both are about the sense of family, humanity, and suburbia. And both are so grounded in relatability, and you talk about the space and aliens, and the improbable and impossible. Millie Bobby Brown also said that they kept referencing E.T. and they just wanted her to act more like an alien. I don't see this continuing into the later seasons. Number 4 in the level 3 category, we've got sued for stealing ideas. The Duffer Brothers have been sued multiple times for stealing ideas relating to Stranger Things. One in 2020 and one in 2018. I'm sure there's been a couple others, but these are the main biggest ones. The 2020 lawsuit was by Irish Rover Entertainment, claiming it copied several things from a screenplay called Totem, written by Jeffrey Kennedy. And the 2018 case being filed by filmmaker Charlie Kessler, who claimed it copied his 2012 film Montauk. This case was dropped before trial, and I couldn't find the outcome for the IRE lawsuit. Sorry, boys. Alright guys, the last thing we got in level 3 is Daker Montgomery's audition tape. If you don't know who Daker Montgomery is, he plays Billy, and he also almost certainly inhabits the Wall Street Bet subreddit. Anyway, he made an audition tape that stood out really broadly amongst the others. In the tape you can see Daker dancing around shirtless to Come On Eileen. Interesting. Alright guys, the first thing we got in level 4 is Hopper's Still Alive. Oh my god. Why is this so low? We all know this extended. Oh my god, your iceberg's terrible. Ugh. Makes me sick. I put this on level 4 because although they released this teaser publicly, I don't think many average viewers still know about this. I asked many of my friends and people I know that watched the show, and they had no idea Hopper was still alive. But it looks like he's either captured by Russians or brainwashed by the Russians, and I can't wait to see where he goes in season 4. Alright guys, the second thing we got in level 4 is Will kills Bob. Originally, our buddy Bob was supposed to be killed very early in season 2, but they fell in love with him and were convinced to keep him around till the end of season 2. Something you probably didn't know was that he would have been killed by Will while he was corrupted by the Mind Flayer, which would have been a really big twist I wouldn't have seen coming, but I'm ultimately happy with their choice. Alright guys, the third thing we got in level 4 is Hopper's actor as 11. Something really weird was that our 6'3" tank who plays Sheriff Hopper tried out for the role of 11, and I don't know what to say about this. Just watch this.
I'm 11 now, bitch.
Alright guys, the fourth thing we got in level 4 is original use for the Christmas lights. And at first, the Christmas lights we see being used to communicate with Will were supposed to be used to find the monster by Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve. But after a pitch from one of the writers, they favored the new idea of using them to communicate with Will. The last thing we got in level 4, guys, is the fake body scare. I thought this was pretty hilarious when I found it out, but apparently after they got the fake body they needed for season 1, they pulled Noah Schnapp's mom aside and told her that they had something to show her. And they showed her the fake body of her son, which obviously freaked her out a little bit, but after the initial shock faded, she thought it was hilarious. Alright guys, the first thing we got in level 5 is Operation MKUltra. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about this somewhere, but basically Project MKUltra, yeah, bitch, I put Operation on the chart anyway. It was the name of a project by the CIA which started in the early 1950s and went into the mid 1970s. Illegal actions were done and practiced, and they carried out experiments on unwilling participants to test drugs, particular LSD or acid, and procedures that would help with mind control. And this is a big part of the origin story of Eleven in Stranger Things, because her mom was one of the unwilling test subjects who became catatonic since Eleven's birth, where she thought that she had a miscarriage when she was kidnapped. Some people think this experiment is what led to some of Eleven's powers. Next thing we got in level 5 is the Montauk Project. The Montauk Project is a conspiracy theory that the United States government carried out a series of secretive projects at Camp Hero, or Montauk Air Force Station in Montauk, New York, which included psychological warfare projects and time travel projects, interdimensional travel, a lot of crazy stuff. But the Montauk Project was also the original name of Stranger Things, and this conspiracy also has a huge impact on some of the things we see in the show. Next thing we've got in level 5 is the Chernobyl Disaster. A big theory I've been seeing float around lately is that the Chernobyl Disaster will be a major plot point in the upcoming season, which would make a lot of sense knowing what we know so far. The disaster would cover up any massive fights or battles dealing with the Mind Flayer or between the Russians, Also, the timeline of Stranger Things would put this in a perfect spot, as season 3 was set in 1985, and it's fitting season 4 would be in 1986, following the trends of the first 3 seasons. The reactor that exploded was also created in 1983 when Stranger Things timeline started, and these just seem like perfect conditions for them to take advantage of, and I think almost certainly it will be involved in season 4. The last thing we've got in level 5 is the 30-page upside down document. And basically there's just a 30-page document of the Upside Down, which gives a lot of information on the Upside Down and its backstory, the Demogorgon, the Shadow Monster, and the other information. It hasn't been released publicly, but I anticipate it being explained in either seasons 4 or 5 if they have one. Alright guys, the final level. The first thing we've got is Robin is a time traveler. A crazy theory I saw on Reddit states that Robin from season 3 is a time traveler, and the evidence for this one is Steve doesn't remember her because actually she never existed in his past, and she's faking her homosexuality because she's attracted to Steve, but she does not want a relationship because someday she'll have to return to the future, or she already loves somebody in the future. Her mission is not completely finished yet, and that is why she is staying in the past, and she has already watched Back to the Future movie series, and the scene where we see Back to the Future in there gives us a hint at possible time travel in the next season. This one's really interesting, and I think it's really underrated in my opinion, because we have not entertained the idea of time travel really, when it was one of the biggest proponents of Montauk, and I actually think this one has a decent amount of credibility. Another crazy theory I saw gaining some traction was that 11 will be the villain in the next season, which I think would be really cool and I think is very credible as well, after the Stranger Things writers' Twitter hinted with the song lyrics from Cosmic Love by Florence plus the Machine. We can relate this back to the show with 11 still thinking Hopper is dead, and this piece of evidence is what gives this one high credibility to me. Alright guys, the final thing in the chart is the D&D campaign entry, and it basically states that Stranger Things is just a D&D campaign, and that everything we are watching is just a game being played by an outside character we never see, and each season we have a new set of players with their own goals and objectives. I think this one's pretty obscure, but I think it's a possibility if the show decided to go more meta, but I don't think that'll happen. Alright boys, thank you if you made it to the end of the video. Make sure you drop a like if you learned something new or enjoyed it. And make sure you subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and leave some suggestions or feedback in the comments on this video and what you'd like to see in the future. Thank you guys. Peace.